I'm sprinting through the humid New Orleans streets with Whiskers bleeding in my arms, his orange fur matted with something I don't want to think about. The emergency vet clinic's neon sign blazes ahead like a beacon, and I'm practically hyperventilating when I burst through those glass doors. Help! My cat's been attacked. The receptionist barely looks up from her computer. Fill out this form and... Are you kidding me right now? That's when she walks in. Tall, blonde, dragging what looks like a small bear on a leash. The dog's muzzle is stained red, and my stomach drops. Is that blood? I demand, pointing at her beast. Excuse me? Her blue eyes narrow, voice sharp as broken glass. Your dog attacked my cat. Bruno doesn't attack anything. He's a rescue, very gentle. Gentle? Look at Whiskers. The blonde steps closer, and I catch a whiff of expensive perfume mixed with dog treats. She's gorgeous in that polished, professional way that usually intimidates me, but right now I'm too angry to care. If your cat was loose in Audubon Park. He got out of his carrier for 2 seconds. The vet tech finally intervenes. Ladies, both animals need immediate attention. You'll have to wait together. Damn. Just damn. We sit in uncomfortable silence, her dog panting in the corner while Whiskers gets whisked away for emergency surgery. I study her profile, sharp cheekbones, perfectly styled hair despite the chaos, fingers drumming against her knee in rapid patterns. I'm Emily, I finally say. Skylar. She doesn't look at me. And Bruno really is gentle. Something must have spooked him. Yeah, well, something spooked Whiskers too. The hours crawl by. We take turns pacing, getting terrible coffee from the vending machine, pretending not to watch each other. Around midnight, she pulls out her phone and starts typing rapidly. Work? I ask. Stress management consultation. Crisis intervention. She glances up. You? Meditation instructor. That gets her attention. Seriously? Why? Do I not look zen enough? For the first time, she almost smiles. Not particularly, no. The vet emerges just as dawn light filters through the windows. Both our pets will be fine. Whiskers needs stitches. Bruno needs anxiety medication. Anxiety medication? Skylar's voice cracks slightly. It happens with rescue animals. Past trauma can manifest in unexpected aggression. Walking to the parking lot, she stops beside my beat-up Honda. I'm sorry about your cat. I'm sorry your dog has issues. We stand there awkwardly, morning heat already building despite the early hour. She fidgets with her keys, designer everything contrasting sharply with my yoga pants and rushed ponytail. Maybe, she starts, then stops. Never mind. What? Coffee sometime? To discuss pet management strategies? I laugh despite everything. Is that what we're calling it? Well, we're both in the wellness business. Professional consultation. Right. Professional. But when she hands me her card, our fingers brush for just a moment, and something electric passes between us that has nothing to do with stress management or meditation techniques. 3 days later, I'm sitting across from Skylar at a coffee shop on Magazine Street, wondering why I agreed to this. She's even more polished in daylight crisp white blouse, hair that probably costs more than my monthly grocery budget, manicured nails tapping against her ceramic mug. So meditation, she says, like she's discussing tax law. How exactly does sitting quietly solve anything? How does analyzing stress patterns help when you're having a panic attack? Evidence-based cognitive behavioral techniques, breathing exercises, systematic desensitization, which is basically meditation with fancy words. She leans back, studying me. You really believe in all that spiritual stuff? You really believe emotions can be managed like spreadsheets? The barista calls out another order, steam hissing from the espresso machine. Skylar wraps both hands around her cup, and I notice she's not wearing any rings, no tan lines either. I used to have panic attacks, she says quietly. Started in college, couldn't breathe, couldn't think. Traditional therapy helped, but the pharmaceutical route, she shakes her head. Side effects were worse than the anxiety. What triggered them? Control, or losing it. She meets my eyes. What got you into meditation? My ex-girlfriend said I needed to find inner peace. The words slip out before I can stop them. Skylar's eyebrows rise slightly. Did you? Find inner peace or keep the girlfriend? Both. Neither. We laugh, and the tension breaks. She has a great laugh, genuine and unguarded, completely different from her professional demeanor. "Tell me about your practice," she says. Real talk, not the brochure version. So I do. I tell her about teaching stressed-out lawyers to breathe, about helping new mothers find moments of stillness, about the businessman who cried during his first session because he hadn't felt calm in 15 years. "You actually help people," she says, sounding surprised. "As opposed to what?" "I don't know. I thought it was all crystals and incense." "Okay, sometimes there's incense." She grins. "And crystals?" "Only on Tuesdays." The afternoon dissolves around us. She explains her cognitive restructuring techniques. I describe mindfulness practices, and somehow we're building bridges between our different worlds. When she talks about her clients, passion lights up her face. When I mention breakthrough moments in meditation sessions, she leans forward, genuinely interested. "I have a client," she says, stirring sugar into her second coffee. "Architect, works ridiculous hours, can't shut off his brain. Traditional stress management isn't clicking. Sounds like he needs to learn how to be instead of do." "Exactly." Her fingers brush mine across the table, just briefly. "Maybe you could work with him?" The touch sends warmth up my arm. "Professional consultation?" "Something like that." Outside, the late afternoon sun slants through the windows, casting everything in golden light. Her hair looks like spun silk, and when she smiles, really smiles, it transforms her entire face. "Walk with me?" she asks. We stroll through the garden district, past grand mansions and ancient oak trees draped in Spanish moss. The conversation flows easier now, personal stories mixing with professional observations. "I miss this," she says, gesturing at the peaceful street. "What?" "Taking time. Usually I'm rushing between clients, checking emails, optimizing schedules. When's the last time you just existed?" She stops walking. "I don't remember." Something vulnerable flickers across her face, and without thinking, I reach out and touch her arm. She doesn't pull away. "Would you like to try something?" I ask. "Depends what it is." "Close your eyes. Right here." "In the middle of the sidewalk?" "Trust me." She hesitates, then closes her eyes. I step closer, close enough to smell her perfume again. "Feel your feet on the ground. Listen to the cicadas. Notice the breeze." Her breathing slows. The tight lines around her eyes soften. "Now what?" she whispers. "Now nothing. Just be." We stand there for maybe 30 seconds, and I watch her face transform. The constant tension melts away, revealing something softer underneath. When she opens her eyes, they're bright with unshed tears. "That was..." She shakes her head. "What?" Before I can react, she steps closer and kisses me. Soft, tentative, questioning. Her lips taste like coffee and possibility. When we break apart, she looks stunned. "I'm sorry, I don't usually..." "Don't apologize. This complicates things." Maybe some things need complicating. 2 weeks later, I'm sitting in the back row of Skylar's Wednesday evening stress management workshop, wondering what the hell I'm doing here. She's presenting to about 20 people in a conference room at the community center. Graphs and charts projected on the wall behind her. "Cortisol levels spike when we perceive threat," she explains, clicking to the next slide. "But most modern stress isn't life-threatening. It's deadlines, traffic, financial pressure." She hasn't noticed me yet, completely absorbed in her element. Professional Skylar is compelling in a different way, authoritative, confident, commanding the room's attention. The key is recognizing the difference between real danger and manufactured anxiety. A woman raises her hand. "What if you can't tell the difference anymore?" Skylar's expression softens. That's when we need to retrain our nervous system. "Anyone have experience with meditation?" My cheeks burn as several heads turn toward me. "Damn small workshop." "Emily." Skylar's eyes find mine, surprise flickering across her face. "Would you like to share?" Standing feels awkward, but I do it anyway. Meditation teaches you to observe your thoughts without judgment, like watching clouds pass instead of getting caught in the storm. "Interesting metaphor," Skylar says. "Could you elaborate on the practical application?" She's testing me, and I can see the challenge in her eyes. "Two can play this game." "Sure." "Who here feels overwhelmed right now?" Several hands go up. I walk to the front, hyper-aware of Skylar watching my every move. Close your eyes. Notice where you feel that overwhelm in your body. Don't try to change it, just acknowledge it. The room settles into stillness. Even Skylar closes her eyes. Now imagine you're sitting by a river. Each overwhelming thought is a leaf floating past. You don't have to grab the leaves or stop the river. Just watch. Minutes pass in quiet breathing. When I ask them to open their eyes, the energy in the room has completely shifted. How do you feel now? I ask the woman who first raised her hand. Calmer. More spacious. Skylar's staring at me with an expression I can't read. After the workshop, people file out slowly, several asking for my contact information. Skylar packs up her materials with efficient movements. That was impressive, she says without looking at me. Your cortisol research was fascinating. Finally, she meets my eyes. Were you checking up on me? Maybe. Was that territorial display for my benefit? What territorial display? Testing my knowledge in front of your group. She stops packing, straightening to face me fully. You undermined my entire presentation. I complimented it. You made it look simplistic. The tension crackles between us. She steps closer, and I can see the pulse jumping in her throat. Your approach ignores the neurological complexities. Your approach ignores the human soul. There's no scientific evidence for a soul. There's no scientific evidence for half the shit that matters. We're standing inches apart now, breathing hard like we've been running. Her eyes dart to my lips. This is insane, she whispers. Yeah. We work in completely different paradigms. Yeah. We're going to drive each other crazy. Probably. She kisses me then, fierce and desperate, backing me against the conference table. Her hands tangle in my hair, and I pull her closer, wanting to eliminate every inch of space between us. When we break apart, gasping, she rests her forehead against mine. Come to my office tomorrow, she says. I want to show you something. The next evening, I find myself in her sleek downtown office after hours. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlook the French Quarter, and everything is perfectly organized color-coded files, ergonomic furniture, not a single item out of place. Impressive? I say, running my fingers along her mahogany desk. I spend most of my life here. She's changed from her work clothes into jeans and a soft sweater, looking younger and less guarded. The thing you wanted to show me? She pulls out a thick folder. My personal stress management research. 15 years of data on what actually works versus what we think should work. I flip through pages of charts, client notes, success rates. Meditation appears frequently in the what actually works column. Why are you showing me this? Because maybe we're not as different as I thought. She sits beside me on her leather couch. Maybe there's something to your soul theory. Science finally catching up to ancient wisdom? Don't get cocky. But she's smiling, and when I lean over to kiss her, she responds immediately. This time it's slower, exploratory, her hands mapping the curves of my shoulders and back. I have an idea, she murmurs against my neck. What kind of idea? Professional collaboration. Your meditation techniques with my stress management protocols. On your clients? On us first. Her lips find that sensitive spot below my ear, and thinking becomes difficult. Research and development? I manage. Exactly. She pulls back to look at me, pupils dilated, lips swollen from kissing. Are we still talking about work? Does it matter? This time when we kiss, there's no hesitation, no professional pretense. Just heat and want, and the surprising rightness of her mouth on mine. Her hands pulling me closer as the city lights twinkle beyond the windows. Saturday morning finds us loading Skylar's pristine SUV with hiking gear and enough organic snacks to feed a small yoga retreat. She insisted on detailed trail maps, emergency supplies, and what appears to be a portable weather station. It's just a day hike, I say, watching her check our route for the third time. Proper preparation prevents poor performance. Did you just quote military doctrine for a nature walk? She grins. Maybe. Scout motto, actually. The drive to the North Shore takes an hour, and I discover Skylar has terrible taste in music, all electronic beats and synthesized vocals. When I plug in my phone, filling the car with acoustic guitar and soulful lyrics, she wrinkles her nose. This is extremely mellow. This is called having feelings. I have feelings. Organized, manageable feelings. By the time we reach the trailhead, the morning humidity has already soaked through my cotton t-shirt. Skylar looks annoyingly fresh in moisture-wicking fabric and professional hiking boots. The trail winds through pine forests and marshy lowlands, Spanish moss hanging like curtains between ancient cypress trees. We fall into an easy rhythm, her longer legs matching my slower pace. "Tell me about your worst client," she says, stepping over a fallen branch. Wellness coach, who stressed himself into panic attacks trying to achieve perfect zen. Ironic. Yours? CEO who scheduled stress management sessions between board meetings. Took calls during breathing exercises. We laugh, and a great blue heron takes flight from the nearby bayou, wings spanning wider than my arms. "I love this," Skylar says, watching the bird disappear into the canopy. "When I was little, my grandmother would take me hiking. Said nature was the best therapist." Smart woman. She raised me after my parents died. The casual way she drops this information makes my chest tighten. "I'm sorry. Car accident when I was 8. Grandma Betty taught me that structure and planning could prevent most disasters." "Is that why you need to control everything?" She stops walking. "Do I?" "You color code your spice rack, Skylar. Efficiency isn't control. Sometimes it is." We reach a small clearing with a wooden bench overlooking the water. Skylar pulls out her perfectly packed lunch while I dig around my backpack for whatever I threw in this morning. "Peanut butter and jelly," I announce, unwrapping my slightly squished sandwich. "Quinoa salad with organic vegetables and sustainable protein." Show off. But she trades half her fancy salad for half my kids' lunch, and somehow that feels significant. The afternoon heat builds, cicadas humming their endless song. Skylar rolls up her sleeves, revealing toned forearms, and I find myself staring. "What?" she asks. "Nothing. Emily." "You're beautiful." The words surprise us both. She sets down her water bottle, looking uncertain. Even with my control issues and color-coded spices? Especially then. I reach over and tuck a strand of blonde hair behind her ear. Her breath catches, and suddenly we're kissing again, softer this time, unhurried. She tastes like fruit and possibility. When we break apart, she's looking at me like I'm a puzzle she can't solve. "I don't usually do this," she says. "What? Hike? Get involved with colleagues, date women I barely know, feel this much this fast. How much do you feel?" Instead of answering, she stands and pulls me to my feet. "Come on. I want to show you something." We hike another mile to where the trail opens onto a sandy beach beside a pristine lake. Cypress trees rise from the dark water like ancient sentinels, and dragonflies skim the surface. "Hidden gem," Skylar says. Grandma Betty's secret spot. The late afternoon sun turns everything golden. Skylar kicks off her hiking boots and wades into the shallows, jeans rolled up to her knees. "Water's perfect," she calls. I join her, and we stand hip-deep in the warm lake as the sun begins its descent. Skylar's hair catches the light, and her eyes reflect the sky. "Thank you," she says. "For what?" "Making me remember what this feels like. Being instead of doing." She steps closer, water lapping around our waist. When she kisses me this time, it's different, deeper, more certain. Her hands frame my face, thumbs stroking my cheekbones. "Emily," she whispers against my lips. "Yeah? I want to try something with you." "What kind of something?" "Everything." The word hangs between us, heavy with promise. She takes my hand and leads me back to shore, where late daylight filters through the canopy. We spread our hiking blankets on the soft ground, and she pulls me down beside her. The forest around us settles into evening quiet, broken only by gentle water sounds and our own breathing. When she touches me, it's with the same focused attention she brings to everything else, learning what makes me gasp, what makes me arch against her. The careful walls between professional colleague and something more crumble completely as we explore this new territory together, skin against skin under the darkening sky. Later we lie tangled in hiking gear and scattered clothes, watching the first stars emerge through the cypress branches. We should head back, she says, but makes no move to leave. Should we talk about what this means? She turns to face me, tracing patterns on my bare shoulder. What do you want it to mean? Something real. Even though we drive each other crazy? Especially because of that. She kisses my forehead, gentle and sweet. Then let's see where this goes. 6 weeks later, I'm standing in Skylar's pristine kitchen making coffee while she showers, wondering how my life got turned upside down so fast. Half my meditation cushions are stacked next to her ergonomic desk chair, my crystals arranged with suspicious precision on her minimalist bookshelf. Trial period, she called it when I brought a suitcase over last week. Data collection on cohabitation compatibility. Everything in her apartment has a designated place except me. I'm the chaos variable in her controlled environment. The coffee maker beeps just as she emerges from the bathroom, blonde hair twisted into a perfect bun, wearing a charcoal suit that probably costs more than my monthly rent. Morning, she says, pecking my cheek while checking her phone. 3 client meetings, lunch with the hospital board, dinner with potential investors at 7. I hand her a travel mug. Breathing scheduled anywhere in there? Very funny. But she's already reviewing emails, and I feel that familiar pang of uncertainty. We're building something real here, right? Not just convenient companionship between 2 workaholics. Don't forget tonight, I say. Marcus is bringing his girlfriend to dinner. She looks up, confused. Who's Marcus? My best friend since college. I told you about this yesterday. Right. Dinner. 7:30? 7. I might be a few minutes late. I kiss her temple, tasting expensive shampoo. Try not to schedule them an anxiety assessment over appetizers. I make no promises. After she leaves, I straighten her already immaculate apartment and head to my own place for afternoon meditation sessions. It still feels strange, living between 2 worlds. That evening, Marcus arrives early with Sarah, a nurse practitioner with kind eyes and an easy laugh. We're halfway through wine when Skylar finally walks in at 7:45, still in work mode. Sorry, she says, kissing my cheek. Conference call ran long. Marcus extends his hand. You must be the famous Skylar. Famous? She glances at me. Emily talks about you constantly, Sarah adds with a grin. Skylar settles beside me on the couch, her body language subtly territorial. Emily mentioned you're a nurse? Pediatric trauma unit. Lots of stress management needs there. Interesting. Have you considered cognitive behavioral interventions for childhood anxiety disorders? And she's off, interrogating my friends like potential research subjects. Marcus shoots me a look over his wine glass. Actually, he says, Sarah's been dealing with some work stress lately. Maybe you 2 could help. Sarah laughs. I'm fine. 12-hour shifts, understaffed unit, constant life or death decisions? Skylar leans forward. That's textbook occupational burnout. She means well, I whisper to Sarah, but Skylar overhears. I mean accurately. Professional assessment based on observable data. The temperature in the room drops 10 degrees. Maybe we should focus on dinner, Marcus suggests. Over pasta, Skylar continues her clinical analysis of Sarah's stress patterns while I watch my best friend's girlfriend grow increasingly uncomfortable. When Skylar starts explaining cortisol regulation strategies, I've had enough. Could I talk to you for a minute? I ask, standing abruptly. In the kitchen, I close the door and face her. What are you doing? Helping. Your friend clearly needs intervention. She needs dinner with friends, not a psychological evaluation. I'm offering professional insight. You're being controlling and weird. Skylar's posture stiffens. Controlling? Yeah, like you need to manage everyone's problems instead of just being present. I don't manage, I optimize. Same thing. It's not the same thing at all. Her voice rises slightly. I help people function better. Not everyone wants to function better. Sometimes people just want to exist without improvement plans. We stare at each other across her granite countertop, the space between us suddenly feeling vast. Is that what you want? She asks quietly. To just exist without growth or progress? I want to exist without being analyzed and optimized every 5 minutes. I don't do that to you. Don't you? She opens her mouth to argue, then closes it. In the silence, I hear Marcus and Sarah's conversation continuing in the dining room, their voices carefully neutral. I should go check on them, I say. Emily, wait. But I'm already walking away, leaving her standing alone in her perfect kitchen. The rest of dinner is stilted, conversation flowing around the obvious tension between Skylar and me. When Marcus and Sarah leave, promising to call soon, Skylar immediately starts cleaning dishes with mechanical precision. They're nice, she says without looking at me. Yeah, they are. I was trying to help Sarah. I know, but I made things awkward. I lean against the counter, watching her scrub an already clean plate. Why do you need to fix everyone? I don't fix people. I provide tools for self-improvement. What if people don't want tools? What if they just want acceptance? She sets down the plate, gripping the counter edge. Because acceptance doesn't solve problems. Not everything is a problem to solve, Skylar. Yes, it is. Her voice cracks slightly. Everything is a problem until you figure out the system to fix it. The vulnerability in her tone stops my irritation cold. I step closer, seeing past the professional armor to something frightened underneath. What are you really afraid of? Chaos, losing control, watching everything fall apart because I didn't plan well enough. Like with your parents? She flinches. That's different. Is it? For a long moment we just look at each other. Then she reaches for me, and I let her pull me close, breathing in her familiar scent. I don't know how to just be, she whispers into my hair. I'll teach you. What if I'm too broken to learn? Then we'll be broken together. She pulls back to look at me, eyes bright with unshed tears. Is that enough? For now? Yeah. When she kisses me, it tastes like apology and hope, and the beginning of something deeper than either of us expected. 3 months into whatever we're calling this relationship, we're sitting in a historic conference room in the French Quarter for the Louisiana Wellness Summit. The building dates back to the 1800s, all exposed brick walls and original hardwood floors that creak when you walk. Skylar's presenting our joint research on integrated stress management techniques to about 50 healthcare professionals. She's in full professional mode, clicking through slides while I sit in the front row trying not to stare at how good she looks in that navy blazer. Combining cognitive behavioral therapy with mindfulness meditation shows a 63% improvement in anxiety reduction, she explains, gesturing to a colorful graph. A hand shoots up from the audience. What's the statistical significance? 0.001, with a confidence interval of... The building shudders. At first I think it's construction work, maybe a truck passing by. But then the chandelier above us starts swaying, and the vintage windows begin rattling in their frames. Everyone stay calm, Skylar says, but her voice carries an edge. The shaking intensifies. Books tumble from shelves, someone screams, and suddenly we're all diving under tables as the floor heaves beneath us like a living thing. Earthquake! Someone yells unnecessarily. I crawl towards Skylar, who's gripping her laptop with white knuckles under the conference table. We need to get out. But as we scramble toward the exit, a sound like thunder fills the air. Dust rains from the ceiling, and I watch in horror as cracks spider across the walls. Move! Move! Skylar shouts, grabbing my hand. We make it halfway to the door when the world comes apart. The ceiling above the main entrance collapses in a cascade of plaster and wooden beams. People scatter, screaming, pushing toward side exits. Skylar pulls me toward the back of the room, but another section of ceiling crashes down, blocking that path too. The basement, someone shouts. Emergency stairs. We stumble down narrow steps just as the floor above us gives way with a sound like breaking bones. Dust fills the air, making everything gray and choking. Emergency lighting flickers on, casting eerie shadows on the brick walls. 23% of us make it to the basement. 4% are injured, including Dr. Martinez, who's bleeding from a head wound. Skylar immediately shifts into crisis mode. Medical professionals to the front, she calls. Everyone else, stay calm and assess for injuries. I help her organize people into groups while the building settles above us with occasional groans and crashes. The emergency stairs are completely blocked now, tons of rubble sealing us underground. Cell service is dead, announces someone checking their phone. Emergency radio 2, adds another. Skylar pulls me aside, her composure cracking slightly. How long can 23 people survive down here? I look around the basement, no windows. One emergency ventilation grate, bottled water from the conference setup, minimal food. Depends on air circulation and rescue response time. That's not an answer. 2, maybe 3 days if we're careful. Her face goes pale. My contingency planning never covered geological disasters. Hey, I take her hands, feeling them tremble. We're going to be okay. You don't know that. No, but I believe it. The next few hours blur together. We ration the conference bottled water, tear tablecloths into bandages, and try to keep everyone calm while aftershocks rattle the building above us. Skylar throws herself into organization with desperate efficiency, creating duty rosters and resource allocation charts. But I can see the panic underneath her professional facade. Talk to me, I say, when we finally have a quiet moment in the corner. I'm fine. You're hyperventilating. She presses her back against the brick wall, eyes wide. I can't control this. Any of this. You don't have to control it. If I don't control it, people die. People die anyway, Skylar. Sometimes things just happen. Like car accidents on random Tuesday afternoons. The reference to her parents hits like a physical blow. I reach for her, but she pulls away. I need air, she gasps. But there is no air except what we have down here. No escape except through tons of rubble. She's having a full panic attack in the worst possible place. Look at me, I say firmly. Eyes on me. Nowhere else. She focuses on my face with visible effort. Breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. We breathe together while chaos continues around us. Gradually, her panic subsides enough for her to function. Better? She nods shakily. How do you stay so calm? Practice accepting what I can't change. I've spent my whole life believing I could change everything. Maybe it's time to learn something new. That night, we sleep pressed against each other on makeshift beds of tablecloths and conference programs. The emergency lighting casts everything in harsh shadows, and every sound makes people jump. Emily? Skylar whispers in the darkness. Yeah? I'm scared. Me too. Not of dying. Of living without being in control. I turn to face her, seeing vulnerability she's never shown before. Control is an illusion anyway. All we really have is how we respond to what happens. That's terrifying. It's also freeing. She's quiet for a long time then, if we don't make it out of here. We will. But if we don't, I want you to know something. What? This thing between us, it's the first time I've felt like myself instead of my coping mechanisms. Skylar, let me finish. I love you. Not the meditation instructor version or the professional collaboration version. You. The woman who makes terrible coffee and leaves crystals everywhere and forces me to feel things. My heart stops. I love you too. Even when I try to optimize your friends? Especially then. She kisses me in the emergency lighting, surrounded by 21 sleeping strangers and unknown tons of rubble, and somehow it feels like the most honest moment of my life. Day 2 underground starts with Dr. Martinez developing a fever. We've been using meditation techniques to keep everyone calm, but people are getting restless. The air feels thinner and our water supply is down to 8 bottles. Skylar hasn't slept, spending the night calculating oxygen consumption rates and survival probabilities. She's created detailed charts on torn conference programs, trying to impose order on our deteriorating situation. We need to discuss rationing protocols, she announces to the group. We need to discuss staying sane, I counter. Everyone, gather around. We're doing group meditation. Meditation won't increase our oxygen supply. Neither will panic. We stare each other down while 21 people watch. Finally, Skylar sits beside me, and the others follow suit. Close your eyes, I begin. Notice your breathing without trying to change it. The basement settles into unusual quiet. Even the building seems to hold its breath. Now imagine roots growing from your body into the earth. You're connected to something larger than this moment. When I open my eyes 15 minutes later, the group looks noticeably calmer. Even Skylar's shoulders have dropped from around her ears. Better? I ask quietly. She nods reluctantly. Your methods are surprisingly effective for unscientific nonsense. High praise from you. Later, when most people are napping, we find ourselves in our corner again. Skylar's been organizing and reorganizing our meager supplies, her need for control manifesting in increasingly precise arrangements of water bottles. Talk to me about something else, she says suddenly. Like what? Anything. Your childhood, your dreams, why you became a meditation teacher. So I tell her about growing up in small-town Louisiana, about my mother who read tarot cards for grocery money, about discovering meditation in college when my anxiety felt overwhelming. Your turn, I say. You already know about my parents, my grandmother. Tell me about something good. She's quiet for so long I think she won't answer. Then there was this treehouse my grandmother built. Nothing fancy, just boards nailed between two oaks, but it felt like the only safe place in the world. What made it safe? Nobody could find me there. Nobody could hurt me or leave me. Her voice grows soft. I used to imagine living there forever. What would you do all day in your treehouse life? Read, think, watch clouds. She laughs quietly. Probably get very dirty and eat terrible food. Sounds perfect. Completely impractical. The best things usually are. She turns toward me in the dim light. Is that what this is? Completely impractical? Us? Yeah, definitely. But perfect anyway? Getting there. The second night is harder. Doctor. Martinez's fever spikes, someone else starts coughing, and the air definitely feels thinner. People are getting irritable, snapping at each other over minor things. Skylar's coping mechanisms are failing. She's refolded our makeshift bedding 6 times and reorganized our water bottles by volume twice. Come here, I say, pulling her close. I need to check the ventilation again. You checked it an hour ago. The readings might have changed. Skylar, come here. She resists for a moment, then collapses against me. Her body is tense as a guitar string. I can't stop my brain, she whispers. Then don't. Let it run until it gets tired. We lie together while she lists every worst-case scenario, every statistical probability, every system failure that could kill us. I stroke her hair and listen without trying to fix anything. Eventually, she runs out of catastrophes. Feel better? I ask. Strangely, yes. Sometimes you have to honor the anxiety before you can release it. Is that meditation wisdom? That's therapy wisdom. See? We're not so different. She shifts to look at me, and something changes in her expression. Instead of the constant worry, I see want. Emily, she says quietly. Yeah? I need to feel alive right now. Understanding passes between us. She kisses me with desperate hunger, and I respond with equal intensity. We're surrounded by sleeping people, but in this moment, we create our own private world. Her hands map my body with focused attention, touching me like she's memorizing every detail. When I gasp, she covers my mouth with hers, swallowing the sound. Shh. She breathes against my neck. The risk of discovery only heightens everything. We move together with careful urgency, finding release in each other while death potentially waits above us. It's primal and necessary and completely irrational. Afterwards, we lie tangled together on our makeshift bed, breathing hard. That was, she starts. Yeah. Completely inappropriate given our circumstances. Completely. I don't regret it. Good. Neither do I. She traces patterns on my arm in the dim emergency lighting. If we die down here, we're not going to die. But if we do, I want you to know this is the most real I've ever felt. Because of the life-threatening situation, because of you. The third day brings the sound we've been praying for, machinery above us, voices shouting orders, the systematic removal of debris. Rescue teams have found us. It'll take hours to clear a path. One rescuer calls down through a small opening they've managed to create. We have injured people, Skylar shouts back. Medical team is standing by. Stay calm, we're coming for you. As dawn light filters down through that tiny opening, I watch Skylar's face transform. For the first time in 3 days, she looks peaceful. What are you thinking? I ask. That I learned something important down here. What? Control is overrated. Love isn't. When they finally pull us out 6 hours later, squinting in the bright Louisiana sunshine, Skylar doesn't let go of my hand, even when the paramedics try to separate us for medical evaluation. She stays with me, she tells them firmly. Ma'am, we need to check. She stays with me. And she does. The hospital room smells like disinfectant and recycled air. I've been here for 18 hours, hooked to an IV for dehydration while Skylar paces the small space like a caged animal. They discharged her after 4 hours, but she refused to leave. You need to go home and sleep, I tell her for the 10th time. I'm fine here. The nurse said you've been pacing all night. I don't sleep well when you're not next to me. Something in her voice makes me look closer. She's wearing the same clothes from 3 days ago. Her usually perfect hair is a mess, and there are dark circles under her eyes. What aren't you telling me? She stops pacing and sits heavily in the vinyl chair beside my bed. I keep thinking about the basement. About losing you. But you didn't lose me. I could have. We went down there as colleagues presenting research, and I realized I'd rather die with you than live without you. Skylar, let me finish. She takes my hand, and I can feel it trembling. I've spent my whole life planning for disasters, but I never planned for falling in love with someone who makes all my careful systems irrelevant. The heart monitor beside my bed beeps steadily while I process this. What are you saying? I'm saying the earthquake didn't just shake the building. It shook everything I thought I knew about myself. A nurse pokes her head in. How are we feeling, Emily? Ready to go home, I say hopefully. Let me check your levels. After another round of tests and paperwork, they finally release me with instructions to rest and hydrate. Skylar drives with unusual caution, checking on me every few minutes. I'm not made of glass, I say, as she helps me up the stairs to her apartment. Humor me. Inside, she immediately starts fluffing pillows and adjusting the thermostat, her need to control manifesting in hyper-attentive caretaking. Skylar, sit down. Are you hungry? Thirsty? The doctor said, sit. She perches on the edge of the couch like a bird ready to flight. What's really going on? I told you, the earthquake changed things. How? She stands again, pacing to the window that overlooks the French Quarter. Before we got trapped, I thought love was about compatibility assessments and shared goals and logical decision-making. And now? Now I know it's about wanting to face the end of the world with someone. About trusting them with your worst fears. About choosing them over and over, even when it makes no sense. I join her at the window, watching people move through the streets below, going about their normal lives while ours has been completely reorganized. That sounds terrifying for someone who likes control. It is. She turns to face me, but less terrifying than the alternative. Which is? Losing you because I was too scared to admit I need you. The word need hangs between us. I know what it costs her to say it. I need you too, I say quietly. Even though I optimize your friends and color code everything. Even though I'm learning to be human instead of just functional. Especially because of that. She reaches into her pocket and pulls out a small velvet box. My heart stops. This isn't what you think, she says quickly. I mean, it is, but not like traditional proposal protocol. Protocol? I researched engagement customs, but they all seem designed for people who follow conventional relationship timelines. Skylar, what are you doing? I'm improvising. Which, as you know, is not my strength. She opens the box to reveal a simple gold band set with a single stone that catches the afternoon light. This was my grandmother's. She said love should be like tree roots, not always visible but strong enough to weather any storm. Tears blur my vision. I'm asking if you want to build something together, not based on data or compatibility metrics, but on the completely irrational certainty that we're better together than apart. Is this a proposal? It's a commitment to choosing each other, even when we don't make sense, to building a life that's part organized systems and part beautiful chaos. I look at the ring, at her face, at this woman who's learned to love despite every instinct for self-protection. What about my crystals everywhere and terrible coffee? The crystals can have designated spaces. The coffee can be improved through systematic experimentation. And my Buddhist philosophy versus your scientific method? Maybe they're not opposites. Maybe they're complementary approaches to the same goal. Which is? Being human together. She's still holding the box, waiting for an answer, and I realize this moment will define everything that comes after. Yes, I say. Yes to the ring, Or yes to the life. Yes to all of it. When she slides the band onto my finger, it fits perfectly, of course it does. She's probably had my ring size calculated since our second date. How long have you been planning this? I ask. Since the moment they pulled us out of that basement, and I realized I didn't want to face another disaster without you. I kiss her then, tasting tears and relief and the promise of whatever comes next. Outside, New Orleans continues its eternal dance of chaos and beauty, and inside, we're building something new from the rubble of everything we thought we knew about love. One more thing, she says against my lips. What? We're definitely having a more formal wedding, with spreadsheets and detailed planning and backup contingencies for every possible scenario. I wouldn't expect anything less. But also flowers, lots of completely impractical flowers. Now you're talking. 6 months later, I'm standing in the Orleans Parish Courthouse wearing a simple white dress, while Skylar adjusts her navy blazer for the 5th time. We decided against the elaborate wedding she initially planned. Something about surviving an earthquake together makes you appreciate simplicity. You ready for this? Marcus asks, straightening his tie. He's our only witness besides Sarah, who's holding a small bouquet of Louisiana wildflowers. Define ready, Skylar mutters, but she's smiling. The ceremony takes 15 minutes. When the judge pronounces us married, Skylar kisses me with the same desperate intensity as that first night in her office, and I taste salt from tears I didn't realize she was crying. Mrs. and Mrs. Martinez-Jones, the judge announces. And we both laugh because neither of us could agree on whose name to hyphenate first, so we flipped a coin. Outside the courthouse, Sarah throws flower petals, while Marcus takes photos with his phone. It's nothing like the elaborate celebration Skylar originally mapped out, but it's perfect precisely because it's unplanned. Reception at my place? Sarah suggests. Actually, Skylar says, taking my hand, we have somewhere to be. She leads us 4 blocks to a renovated warehouse in the Arts District. A banner across the entrance reads, New Orleans Center for Integrated Wellness in elegant script. Surprise, she says quietly. Inside, the space is stunning. Floor-to-ceiling windows, exposed brick walls, meditation cushions arranged in one corner, ergonomic chairs in another. It's the perfect blend of her structured environment and my organic approach. This is our new practice? I ask, overwhelmed. So founded, CO directed, completely collaborative. Marcus whistles low. This must have cost a fortune. Insurance settlement from the earthquake damage, Skylar explains. Plus my grandmother's inheritance. Seemed like appropriate seed money for starting over. I walk through the space, touching the meditation bells she's hung near the windows. The carefully organized resource library. The treatment rooms designed for both individual and group sessions. There's more, she says, leading me to an office area where 2 desks face each other. One pristine and organized, one covered with spiritual texts and half-finished art projects. You made space for my chaos, I say. I made space for both of us. That evening, we host our first official workshop together. Trauma recovery through integrated practice. 12 participants, all earthquake survivors who were in the building with us that day. Trauma changes how we relate to uncertainty, Skylar begins, standing beside a whiteboard covered with her precise diagrams. But uncertainty is where transformation happens, I add from my meditation cushion. When we can't control outcomes, we learn to trust process. Dr. Martinez raises his hand. He's made a full recovery and insisted on being our first client. How do you balance scientific method with spiritual practice? Skylar and I exchange glances. We stop seeing them as opposites, she says. Emily's meditation techniques create measurable changes in brain chemistry. My stress management protocols require the same faith in unseen processes that meditation teaches. You're both trying to help people suffer less, Sarah observes from the back row. Exactly, I say. Different tools, same intention. The session runs 2 hours, and by the end, our earthquake survivors look notably calmer. Several sign up for ongoing sessions. After everyone leaves, Skylar and I sit in our new space, exhausted but exhilarated. Think it'll work? She asks, curled against my side on the client couch. The business or the marriage? Both. Well, we survived 3 days underground without killing each other. Everything else should be easy. She laughs. You realize I'm still going to color code our filing systems? And I'm still going to leave crystals everywhere. And you'll probably make terrible coffee in our new kitchen. And you'll probably try to optimize our clients' entire lives. Think they can handle us? I look around our space, this perfect imperfect compromise between her need for structure and my acceptance of chaos, this physical manifestation of learning to love across difference. I think they need us. Even the messy, complicated us? Especially that. She kisses me then, soft and sweet, and I taste our shared future. Morning coffee and late-night planning sessions. Client breakthroughs and professional disagreements, the daily choice to build something together that's stronger than either of us alone. Outside our windows, New Orleans settles into evening rhythm. The city rebuilt itself after Hurricane Katrina, after countless storms and floods and disasters, always rising again from whatever tries to break it. Just like us. One more thing, Skylar murmurs against my lips. What now? I love you, Mrs. Martinez-Jones. I love you too, Mrs. Martinez-Jones. Even when I'm impossible? Especially then. Because love isn't about finding someone who fits perfectly into your existing life. It's about choosing someone worth rebuilding your life around, worth learning new ways of being human, worth facing whatever disasters come next. And sometimes, if you're very lucky, it's about finding someone who helps you discover that the disaster was actually a doorway to everything you never knew you wanted. This story highlights that true connection blossoms when we embrace differences and vulnerability. Life's unpredictable challenges can forge profound bonds, teaching us that love isn't about control or perfection, but about acceptance and shared growth. Embrace uncertainty, find strength in connection, and never stop growing. Subscribe now for daily updates and more inspiring stories.